Really disappointing afternoon, especially for Matt McGloin, the first quarterback in Penn State history, Neil, to throw 5 interceptions in a game. That's a staggering statistic. And really, let's get to first and foremost where their quarterback situation stands, because that's going to be very important for next season. To me, Matt McGloin, how do you go into this offseason feeling confident in that guy?
Right. Well, I mean, he took a big step backwards today. I think Florida played well, defensively, dropping off, obviously confused them. But it is only one game, so I don't want to overreact to it. I would think he's going to be, not necessarily the guy that they have to beat out, but he would have a slight edge if they opened again tomorrow because of his experience and because he played well most of the year. Took a big step back today, though, and it was just so out of character. Did so many things he didn't do during the season. Throwing against his body, making bad decisions, throwing into traffic. It just was really uncharacteristic.
Matt McGloin, 5 interceptions, 17 out of 41. Florida's offense really didn't do a whole lot, but they didn't have to do a whole lot because Penn State kind of imploded. Penn State didn't play well offensively, defensively, or special teams. You got to play well in at least one of the three.
I thought defensively they played well enough to win.
Okay, but they gave up 23 points against an offense that really is, I heard somebody say, one of the worst Florida offenses ever.
Well, that's true, and they kept giving Florida the ball. I mean, Florida got the ball 3 times inside Penn State's 25, got it twice at their 15, and they scored 15 points on a punt block and an interception return. So I'm not ready to condemn the defense. I thought the defense actually took a step forward from how it played during the regular season.
Yeah, and I would agree. You're exactly right. They did have a stand near the end of the game to let the offense get the ball back with a couple minutes to go, and then McGloin threw the pick 6. But Urban Meyer wins his final game for now. Joe Paterno loses the final game of his season. What did you see from Joe after the game?
I think kind of an air of resignation in the sense that I don't want to say he didn't expect, I don't know if he expected to win, but he certainly wasn't that down. And when you start connecting the dots from some of his comments over the past month, I think he clearly sees this team very much in a developmental stage with a lot of the young players coming back. And maybe this is a self-serving way to look at it, for him to look at it, but I just didn't see him as being overly down. They said they played kind of like they played most of the year. And he made one comment that I thought was interesting when he said that this team right now is way ahead of where they were a year ago because of all the investment they've done in the young players. So that's how he's looking at it.
Okay, but you lose an All-American guard in Stefan Wisniewski. You lose your career rushing leader in Evan Royster. And we all can think Silas Redd is going to be a great player, but we don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. Now, I think the way the schedule plays out next year, they could get off to a pretty good start, and then you've got Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Nebraska at the end. But everyone who's so optimistic about next year, this is a 7-6 football team that lost 4 games by 20 or more points and got beaten today and did not look good in any phase of the game. So give me some reasons for optimism.
I'm not overly optimistic. I think they'll be better, and this is what I wrote in the Mirror for Sunday's paper. Still, if they, against a tougher schedule, if they improve by 3 games, that's fairly dramatic. And yet that's 10-3, which for Penn State still not really good enough. So they're a victim somewhat of what they've built for themselves, but that's also, it can be a blessing and a curse. I do think because they have so much defensive experience next year that they should be better defensively, and that'll be a place to start. I think the quarterback position has a lot of experience that they can build on. Obviously, he had a bad game today from a guy who really came out of nowhere to have a really good year. 2
things really quickly away from Penn State football a little bit. Bad day for the Big Ten today, 0-5 in bowl games. Really an embarrassing day for the conference.
Yeah, and it's surprised me. I thought Wisconsin would win. Michigan, I'm sure there's turmoil there.
He's gone. Rich Rod has to be gone.
I would think
By
so.
By the time you watch this video, he's probably gone.
I was surprised with Michigan State. Yeah. If they didn't play with more character. And that also doesn't spell great news for Penn State that Alabama finished the season so strong.
That's right. And then just an absolute debacle at Pitt. And we're here to talk about Penn State football, but what an absolute embarrassing weekend. The coach that you hire gets involved in a domestic violence situation. He was fired late Saturday night, so now they're starting over. Should Peterson, the AD, be fired? He botched things at Nebraska. I mean, really, you want to talk about all the people who want Joe gone. At least Penn State has a respectable, stable football program. Even at 7, what would you rather have, 7-6, or firing your coach because he beat up his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend?
As of, and he really was only employed there 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see how quickly Pitt moves in terms of the next step. I give them credit for acting swiftly now, and whether, in fact, again, whether that will affect Penn State, and does that mean that Tom Bradley would finally get an interview or even a serious look at Pitt?
Pitt, I think, can do a whole lot worse than Tom Bradley.
Obviously.
I know, yeah, exactly. And I know Neil feels the same way. It would be great to see Tom get that opportunity. That's going to wrap up things for here today at the Outback Bowl. We'll have one more of these videos following Joe Paterno's final press conference on Sunday morning. But again, just a very disappointing day. And I just really feel disappointed for Matt McGloin because this young man was a good story. He had a good opportunity to solidify himself for next year. And I mean, it was just a disastrous day for the kid.
Yeah, real shame. Everybody has a different perspective. We're obviously looking right at it through Penn State. But I thought the Outback Bowl, when the guy gets up there, and of course they're always going to say the right thing, but talked about the tremendous game they had. It was not a well-played game, but I think it was a very entertaining game. And for the 25th year, I would come back to the Outback Bowl any year. I think it's a great experience. I think the people here do a wonderful job. And, to have Joe Paterno in the twilight of his career, surely he's in the fourth quarter, I think was pretty cool for the Outback Bowl in their 25th year.
I concur 100%. I think the Outback Bowl people do a phenomenal job. For Neil Rudel, I'm Corey Geiger. Thanks for tuning in.